What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Zach and I here this week, just us two. Um, we're gonna get into some things. We had some interesting conversations this week. He sent me a Huberman Lab podcast, which is one of his newer ones about longevity and plyometrics in daily life, and I really recommend you guys listening to it. We're gonna touch on some topics and things that we kind of just have talked about in the past, and they kind of expressed it in a different way, arguably a better way. Huberman and who he had on. But a brief side note before we get into anything, I have a surprise I wanted to show Zach.
Oh no.
So I got something this week and I wanted to show you. I think you're gonna enjoy it. Just so we can.
Oh no way. What kind of pen? Is it a fountain pen?
I got it's a
No
fountain
way.
pen.
Did you go to a shop? This is so cool. This is the coolest thing ever. Oh, let's go.
I got
Let's
one.
go.
I got one. So after the passion that I heard Zach speak with last week with regard to his pens, I said, I got to figure out what this hype's about. So I went online searching this and that. I got a nice little starter pen. This is about
Yeah.
$30. Reviews were good, and I wanted something that looked the part. So it's for those of you that aren't watching, that see the video. It is a nice full silver chrome. You want to say more silver, and it's got gold, you know, pieces to it. The tip is nice and gold and silver. It's just it looks the part. It looks like more than a $30
It
pen.
fits you.
But it writes. Yes, it does. It does. And I tell you what, I was excited to get it and just write with it. I wanted to see what it was about. And I saw it as soon as I started writing. I see what you're saying about writing very loosely and having a loose hand and not getting tense. You don't have to apply any pressure. The ink just starts rolling out, and you just flow, man.
Right? Yes.
You just flow. And I tell you what, I really enjoyed it.
Let's
I
go.
was like, okay. I was like, okay, let's. I'm in. I'm in.
Can I
I'm in.
ask what color ink you
And
got?
this one's interesting because it came with cartridges,
Oh,
so it was one of those, like, it wasn't a starter pack, let's say, but it wasn't. I don't have to get a vial. So if I was back in Hoboken, I would show you. But it came with basically a thing, these vials, and basically there's 20 of them. There's 10 blues, like a dark blue and 10 black. And it's not one of the ones where you have to refill your own, which it came with a vial that I can refill on my own when these run out, or I can continue getting the ones that clip back in. But basically, it's just I apply pressure and I click it in, and then the ink kind of just starts doing its thing. But um, yeah, it came with something, and I think that's the one where you can refill yourself. But it has something I didn't. You can screw. Is that right? Where it kind of pushes the ink down. Is that what
so
it
that
is?
yeah,
There's like a screw
yeah.
in
There's a
here,
plunger in
and it
there.
pushes something in on the
So if
screw.
you like just if you take
Yeah.
off your if you took off your nib, you could get a vial. You could get like a thing of ink, and you could use it as a plunger.
Yeah.
And
Look.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this right
Yeah.
here,
So that's a
I have about
cartridge.
I have about 20 of these, but it came with something else that was empty, and it was like this. I took that out, and there's something where I could screw at the top, and this thing would
Yeah, I
come
had one
through.
of those too, and I like those. So like, yeah, you'll just put that in the pen, like the empty one, and you can stick it into like let's say you get like I have do you want me to go get mine? It's just like it's like this size, and you can get all different colors, and then it's like a plunger, so you'll twist it, and it'll like draw the ink up, and then you can just stick it in there and write it.
That's what
But
that is. That makes sense because I'm wondering what it was. It pulls up
yeah,
and down.
so I got 5 cartridges here that I don't use, and I'm gonna send those to you.
Sick.
So yeah,
But yeah,
the
I
cartridges are cool, but like if you like a certain color or you like a certain thing, like it's just like you might as well just get. I think it's like a 20 buck, like just
I mean, I just like black
okay.
ink, but I don't know. I never had the inks. I wonder what if I use like a velvet
Yeah,
ink and
right.
I
That's
don't know.
exactly that's that. No, you're about to. I hear you. No, I'm so excited for you, but like
Yeah, it's funny. I got, I put my phone on portrait mode, and I was, gonna take nice pictures of it and artsy and send it to you. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it on the podcast. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna
that's
catch him by
awesome.
surprise.
That made my
Um,
day.
but yeah,
I got
yeah. I was excited to get it. Is that yours? What, is that the one? Is that? I thought you said the one was red.
Yeah, this is the one with the stub nib. So now I have different nibs. So this one's like it's like for a calligraphy style pen. But mine just
Okay. Yeah, I got the medium.
so mine's just a plunger too. So like it's just all connected in one instead of unscrewing it. So like it plunges out. And then you stick it in and then you drop it in and the ink comes into it.
And then you,
So like I would
as the ink comes in, you push down.
no, so I would open it like this and I would stick it into the ink cartridge or ink vial and then I would press it down.
You're kidding. It's that simple.
Yeah, and then and then I hold it in there for about a couple seconds and then it fills up and then I twist the cap and I'm ready to write.
Wow.
So like this one's got purple ink in it, but yeah, I have a bunch of different colors. And my mom helped me out with a couple of those. She's like, "Oh, like let's get you into colors." And I was like, "Okay, I like colors." So like once colors are cool, but I'm excited for you. Like I don't know, like kind of like what we were talking about last time. It's like it's expressing yourself. You feel what you're writing. Because like the minute that you start applying pressure to the page, like your ink wells up. And you
Exactly. Yeah. Mine's a medium nib. I wanted to kind of get the smaller, like a fine, I think it was, but it didn't really have it, and I didn't know if the fine was too thin, kind of just for convenient writing. So I'm glad with the medium for first one. I may get it with something later on.
I'm
But,
so stoked for you. But that's where I started too. I think my first one was 25 or $30 and then like a $20 thing of ink. Yeah, no, I was stoked. Like I was like I couldn't wait to write.
yeah, no, that's how I felt. It's only my journal pen. I won't use it for anything else. I won't use it for anything else. It's only my
There
journal
you
pen.
go.
But I got off the call like last week, and or podcast, I guess, and the your first off, your reasoning for why you spent the money you did on the pen was somewhat interesting, but then inspiring at the same time. Like it made perfect sense as to why. And I don't know, it just stuck in my head. And I got home that night, and I could just go on Amazon. I just did it. I just bought it, and yeah, it was. I was looking forward to it. Like on Monday at work. I was sitting there looking at the I was excited just to write with it.
I
It,
know.
it was. It's been nice. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Um, but yeah. So, life update. Got a
That's
new phone.
amazing. I can't wait. I can't I have so many questions for next week already. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's cool.
But I figured you'd
I
enjoy that. I was telling my mom last night. I showed her it because I just got home, and she goes, "Oh, that's cool." And I was telling her about the story you were saying, and she goes, "Because I said you went there and you saw the one pen that stuck to that caught your eye, but it was $900." And she goes, "Don't tell me she bought it." And I said, "Well, not that moment, but he basically started saving up every paycheck, and then and she goes, 'Get out of here. He actually bought it.'" I said, "Yeah, he bought it and he loves it." She goes, "Okay, you're not buying a $900 pen." I said, "I mean, probably not, but will you disown me if I do? I mean, I'm not putting things out there. I'm probably not going to buy a $900 pen."
No,
So,
but you might buy another one, you might buy one with a different nib or you
right.
th- like they don't have to be expensive. They can be $25. They can
No,
be
yeah.
$30. But the thing about them is like you're not throwing them away. Like whereas like a G2 pen or like a nice you're going to throw them away eventually cuz they're going to run out of ink. I guess you can refill them. But like
Yeah.
I mean this pen like it's almost going to weld to your
Does yours write better?
huh?
Does a $900 pen, I mean, does it write better? Did you notice a big difference from that and your $30, $50 pen? It wrote differently? Wow.
I mean
I mean, I, I,
like
I
just
hope that was the answer because if you said no, I would have been like, okay, dude, you need to
so
work on
like
it.
the first pen I bought, it wrote well. Like it comparatively to like a standard pen that I had been writing with, I was like, man, this is the smoothest thing I ever wrote with. And like
Yeah.
so like the next like couple weeks I went back and she's like, "Harry, like you want," like I kept stopping in. I was like, "I just want to look at it." Like I just want to and she's like, "Here, write with it then." Like and dude, it's next level. Like it
Really?
because yeah, so I have an extra fine nib and I have a fine nib. The fine nib is like a regular size pen, and like, dude, writing with it, like I haven't found anything comparable. Like it's smooth, man. Like it comes out well. It never skips. It never blots. Like it's spot on. Like yeah, it's and
I
it,
I feel you on the I feel you on that just experience of just writing because I've been using these pens. I got I think 20 for $2, and it was just I got them on at Staples or something online, and I literally got 20 pens
yeah.
for $2, and they were fine. Don't get me wrong, but I noticed that I had to apply like a lot of pressure, and this one, and it would die out relatively fast, and it would skip and this and that, but it was a fucking pen.
Yeah,
I'm sitting there, I'm just like, it's a
right.
pen. And if it stopped like working and it went to shit, I would throw it away and grab another one. And it was perfect for, a month or two. Um, but yeah, I wrote this one for the first time, and I just like kind of flowed, right? And I was like, okay, I get it. This is different. So, um, yeah, not to talk about pens for
I
30
we could
minutes
we
before
could
you get up, but
we could.
I wanted to surprise you with that. I was excited to just as excited to surprise you with that as I was on Monday to write with it.
That
So,
made my day.
um,
Literally, I don't think I know people. Some people can't see me, but I've been smiling from ear to ear. I've been begging you to get a fountain pen forever, dude. I'm like, yo, just get one. I'm like, yeah.
yeah,
So this is all. This is
you
awesome.
you saying that you wanted to make that investment because how much writing has changed your life and what it's meant to you. It made me think, well, what has writing done for me? And it's that moment at night where like it's almost like a meditative type of practice, you know. And I said, okay, that makes perfect sense why he did that, and you want to like almost treat that practice with respect, essentially, And like it doesn't have to be a $900 pen,
No.
obviously, but I was like, you know what? Fine, we'll see what it's like. What it's like. I'm not gonna lie. If it didn't write well, or I just didn't like the way it wrote, I would have returned it. But it adds a level of kind of sophistication to my practice, and I love it. And I showed Tally that night. I showed it, and she goes, "You don't deserve that pen. Your handwriting sucks." And I go, "Honestly, fuck off." Honestly, she goes, "I need that pen. My handwriting's way like her handwriting's nice and bubbly and beautiful, like all girls." And actually, that's not true, all girls, but for the most part, girls have better handwriting than guys. And I was like, I love you, but fuck off. This is my pen. Um, but yeah, so maybe birthday present. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh yeah,
Get it
that's
for him.
fantastic.
But
No, but like
yeah,
that's where I
but
started too. You know.
yeah, yeah, and it came with a nice little box.
So like whenever you're
Lovely.
traveling, yeah, and whenever you're traveling, like it's something I look for now when I'm traveling. Like, dude, is there a pen shop I can just go look? Like, just out of pure curiosity.
I've never seen a pen shop actually. Not
Right.
gonna lie, I've never driven by a pen shop. Never. So when you said that, I said, well, what are we in like the 1980s? I don't even know. Are we in Hogwarts? Like where do you find
Well,
pen shops?
exactly. And like, how did you like? I never even knew about them, and before that sign hit me in the face, like it's just like
Mhm.
and like again, like kind of relating this, it's God, dude. Like I was literally I was looking for a pen, like I was like, man, like I got a felt tip pen, I got a G2 pen on, and like I would write,
Yeah.
but it was like nothing consistent. And like when I put that like purpose behind it, I was like, oh, like I'm going to write. Like just with the like that
Yeah.
the original one, it was like, oh, like I can't wait to open this up and go. Mine was similar to that.
I
Go ahead.
no, I I mean this is off topic to a certain extent, but a pen shop, you have you have overhead every month. You have rent, and you got all these things you got to cover, and employees, right? I'm granted you only probably have one or two, but it's a pen shop, and you're making all this, like you have a lot of expenses when it comes to like a business, right? Especially when you have like a store. Online is different, It's just a product really, and then you pay for advertising this and that. But I don't know. It must be doing fairly
I
well
mean, I think you.
for them to be able to afford that. But a pen shop, I wouldn't expect to have enough success to be able to stay open. Honestly, that's just me being
I mean, she
naive.
has other businesses, but she's a collector. You know what I mean? Like it.
I guess that's why maybe you don't find pen shops in the middle of New York City. But I've never seen. Maybe they are there.
There's
When we come
got
up to New York
there's
next year,
one. Yeah,
we're gonna
we
go.
will. We'll find. Well, that'll be our like adventure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. You're gonna come. Tally and I are getting our apartment in May. You're 100% coming at least a weekend during the
All
summer
right.
and enjoy a nice day, nice weekend.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
But we'll be on the pen
I'll be
shop.
there. So I'm pumped. I'm
But
pumped
yeah,
for
so with
you.
regard to this, yeah, it was a good experience, and I'm gonna continue with it, obviously. Um, with regard to this podcast, let's get back on track. Um, I thought so. Just to give it background, like to everyone, Andrew Huberman, he had a world renowned sprint coach on. I'm
I
blanking on
don't
his
remember
name.
his
I
name
probably
either.
should have. Yeah,
It's
that goes
okay.
to show you how much I know football. Um, but I blank on the guy's name, but he has a very interesting story. He's a ex D or not,
I can look it up while you're talking.
he's a DJ and he's a DJ and an artist. That's what he did growing up, and he just segued his way into sprinting. I don't know how. Obviously, there had to have been some tie, but he's very big on like expressing yourself, expressing your identity, expressing who you are in your sport, especially in sprinting. The way he speaks about it is very very beautiful. And
S- S-
I know we Zach and I we've been talking. What's
Stuart McMillan.
Stuart McMillan? Yeah, so you guys look him up, do your homework. A great listen, and we'll put the link into the podcast in the show notes. Highly recommend you guys listen to it. It was very just kind of new way of thinking about something so simple. Um, but I mean, there's a lot of topics. Zach, what are some of the things you like we were talking about
I
before? Just getting
I would
into.
like to introduce the skipping thing. Because I thought like that was the
Yeah.
original thing that caught my ear, and he
Yeah.
was like, and immediately I started doing it with my feet. You know, I was just like, man, like what does that mean? And I was like, again, so it sent me down the spiral of like my past experiences. And so I'm listening to it, I'm like skipping, like it just is expressive. Like what is it express like, because I listened to it in three segments. I had like a 40-minute drive, another 40-minute drive, and then I listened to the rest of it. So like I didn't get into the mental stuff, but the first thing I really got was the skipping stuff, and I thought it was neat because he was like explaining how it was talking about expressing yourself. Like he's like, if you want to be big and powerful, then skip big and powerful. If you want to be like small and quick, then skip small and quick. Like I'm adding a little word of like my like part to it, but I was like, man, like that's interesting. And I was like, I'm gonna try it. And like that was my
Did you watch the video I sent you
not
on that?
yet, not
How's it
not
going?
yet. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to. And I was like, I'm
It's
gonna
cool.
try it. And then like he's talking about expressing yourself, and I'm like, and then he eventually gets into being yourself, and he goes like, the best people, like he's talking about Usain Bolt. He's like, Usain Bolt is just himself. He's having fun with the camera. He's just interacting with people however he is outside of the game. And he goes, and then has that Powell story. He was like, and it's just it's interesting to me of like how everything kind of relates to being yourself, and like he talks about like your identity of being yourself. It's like you just take yourself into everything that you're doing. Like if you're a loud, boisterous person and you're playing a competitive sport, be loud and boisterous. Like if you're a quiet, chill guy, be quiet and chill. And it's just like I think like having that awareness of who you are and taking that or like how you compete, like, and both of them can show you who you are. Like if one day you try, hey, I'm gonna be like loud and wild, and you have wild success, like why not try it? Why not continue to go down that road? Like if it, you know what I'm saying? And like I want you to try to dive into that emotion piece that we kind of were talking about earlier, is like doing or like
Mhm.
the mechanics of the emotion, or like using emotion to get to your mechanics.
Yeah. No, so I'm not going to do a great job of paraphrasing every word. It's about a 3 hour podcast, so there was so much information, but a lot of things stuck out, and this was one of them. He was basically saying that he teaches his athletes to not tie themselves to the mechanics, but more so the emotion or the mechanics they're able to do in the certain emotion. So basically, the way I took it was, we've all been in a place where we're pissed off, right, or we're super elated, we're just happy to be alive, right, and that translates. That translates, and things just kind of work differently when you're in a better mood versus when you're not. You feel your body better. You feel less tense. Just things. So the way he tries to teach his athletes is to basically tie themselves to that emotion that they feel when they're doing really well, and then stick to that emotion. So when they're going out there, they're not focused on the mechanics of whatever the sprinter works on. I'm not I'm a Philistine when it comes to the art of sprinting, but I mean the whatever the mechanics they're working on a day basis to put all those hours in, not focus on that, but focus on the emotion that they're experiencing, and try to do everything in their power to create that emotion as much as possible. So if the emotion is happiness, obviously, well, what are you going to do on a daily basis to create that emotion prior to your race? What are you going to do that's going to make you the most happy and most at peace with life, right? And I'm not saying everyone, of course, you'd be like, well, of course you want to be happy. Who wants to be upset? Well, I mean,
So some guys compete
I'm
better
not sure if
angry,
people
you
listening,
know,
no,
right?
exactly. I mean, I'm not sure about people listening here, but I'd assume not all of you guys are professional athletes. When you're around professional athletes on a daily basis, Zach and I, and a lot of people that we know have been around, they there's so many different types of personalities. Some of them are just 500 milligrams caffeine to the face, don't even know what's going on. Other people sitting there in the bullpen in the dugout, their thumbs up their ass, don't know what the fuck's going on, and they're just in peace. And then they get called to have an at bat, and they don't even know what's going on. They can't even touch their toes; they're so stiff, and they go out and they do their thing. Other people are super tense the whole time, staying loose, and almost kind of like they're they're sacrificing the enjoyment of experiencing the game, right, with staying ready for that one opportunity, and then they don't get it, and then it's just the same thing over and over again. I was that person. I sacrificed the enjoyment of the season, of enjoying the game and just enjoying being part of it, to I need to stay ready for when my name gets called. And so I'm a part of 130, 140 games. I really didn't enjoy any of them. I was just staying ready for my 45 outings when I got called in the pen, and there's a lot of people that aren't like that. And like I was saying last week, there's people in the bullpen who, they do one toe touch or two toe touches, do, three sets of bands in 30 seconds, and they're on the mound throwing 95 and three pitches. It's just, there's different as people, and all of them are in different emotions. I can't say that I was super peaceful throughout all my outings. But I noticed that when I did my best, I was at peace. So that was a constant battle, as you can imagine. I was battling that, trying to keep myself in that mindset, and like that meditative mindset. And I had a lot of things that I did, throughout the game to kind of get myself to prepare myself for those mindsets as the time came. But I thought that it was really interesting the way he said that. I've never heard a coach say that. I've always heard coaches, especially elite coaches, like high level coaches, you think it's more intricate, like, oh, you need to focus on this minute little nuanced thing. But no, for him, it was just the exact opposite. It was expressing your emotion, expressing yourself. And of course, these are high level athletes. They know what their body's doing. You wouldn't jump to something like this for, Joe Schmo, 16 years old, that doesn't even know,
But why not? But why not?
from his knee, from his ankle. Well, there's levels to everything, it's just, you walk before you run, as the saying goes, so
So like what? But what if you started here? Like what if you like? I honestly I was gonna try this with my kids. I have 4 kids and they throw the ball well, and I was gonna be like, yo, like let's what's your favorite emotion, and let's throw with it, and I want to see what happens, because I've had 2 or 3 lessons with them. First lessons were great. Second one, they were kind of like down and out, and like I'm borderline teaching them intricate things for how young they are. And I was like, man, I was like, what if I think I'm gonna do it? Like, actually, I don't think I'm gonna. I know I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be like, I just want you guys to throw with whatever your favorite emotion is, and see what happens.
No, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, I'm just saying, I think that they're able to do it with these high level athletes and keep it simple like that because they have such a foundation. I'm a big believer. Obviously, last week we were talking about why. Knowing why you're doing something. So the principle may be great. You may see tremendous success with these kids.
Maybe.
Immediately. Try to bring them joy. Let's say whatever music they like. Make sure you start playing that and get them in that flow state, that vibe. They're just kind of chilled out and their body's loose and tense free. But they may notice good results in those mindsets, of course, right? But I think it's a matter of more so understanding what's going on in those mindsets. What's my body doing in those mindsets? What are my mechanics doing in those mindsets? Because you have to be able to analyze whatever you're doing in the moment. You have to be yourself's best coach. So is it realistic to think that you're always going to be in those mindsets when you're competing? Absolutely not. You're not always going to be. So it's essentially to break it down to the most fundamental thing we've talked about always, just being yourself. So be yourself no matter what. If you're in a weird mood, if some shit happens and you're out there, whatever the sport, and it doesn't go your way and you're pissed off, okay, what do I do? How do I play when I'm my best? When I'm my best self? Well, okay, you may not be able to emulate that emotion, but at least you can emulate, the mechanics behind it and stuff. So there's both sides, with these sprinters, the emotion, that's what he said a lot of times. He made a point. He said, on the best races, not all the races. He said, on these athletes' best races, when they break these world records and they set these PRs and this and that, he asked them, what were you thinking? And every time he said, all they say, I was just running. That was it. That you wouldn't get that same answer on a race that wasn't their best, because there's things that hold you back. Maybe you didn't run your best because you were thinking,
Right, and that applies to all sports.
So,
like I was just pitching.
Yeah, so I kind of contradicted myself to a certain extent what I just said, but what I'm trying to get at is what I'm trying to get at is you have to know both sides. You need to know why things happen. So, I think a young athlete, it's better to teach them the fundamentals of what they're trying to accomplish and not just create a baseline, but create themselves in what they're doing in terms of their mechanics and what their body does and how their body works. We move differently. If we're training together, we're both in 17.
So how do you put everybody in a cookie cutter then? Like, you get what I'm saying?
Well, you can't.
Right. So why would you train mechanics?
It's not mechanics. It's more so mechanics of each individual. That's why I place.
But how do well, right? But how do you do that without multi-million-dollar cameras and you're in somebody's backyard and you have a 12 to 17-year-old?
Well, then we should backtrack it. Then having the kid.
What if we taught them to pitch with the emotion? Well, how do we phrase this? What if we taught them how to have the mechanics of the emotion, and then, hey, like as you do that and as you excel, like now you're excelling. Now let's refine it.
Well, this just came to mind. Maybe at the beginning in these fundamental stages, you're not teaching the kid to throw or perform in practice, let's say, in these emotional states for their sake. Maybe you're trying to see what their body does in these states because that's their best.
Right.
And as a coach, it gives you enough information to be able to help them in situations to when they're not themselves. Because you can't expect a 16-year-old to be their best coach. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So how are you going to be the best coach for them? Well, maybe experiencing them in those states of mind may be good for you. So yes, I in that sense, when I break it down that way, in my mind, it makes perfect sense. I was thinking more so through the athete's mind, and a 16-year-old doesn't know shit from fuck.
So right, like
going out there,
why is my pitching coach want me to pitch with my favorite emotion? Like it ends, 30-minute lesson ends, and like the kid's like, I just had the best lesson of my life. Why?
I promise you. I mean, maybe 16-year-olds are thinking that way, but for the most part, if they are thinking that, they're going to go home.
Okay.
And an hour later, they forgot.
But right, so that's a good thing though. So like they just practiced it for 30 minutes with you, and so the next time they show up with you, they're like, I wonder if we're going to do the same thing, and you are. Why not just keep practicing what makes you you?
Well, essentially, yeah. I just think what I'm saying is I think it's a better indicator for you because when the next session. I mean, elite athletes, no matter the age, they're all gonna be good. So I'm not really talking about the elite guys. Like essentially, I'm not really saying that. You know, I'm talking about the average. You know, let's say a little above average kind of 16-year-old who has an understanding, but at the same time, they're not. That's the difference at that age. It's physicality. Yeah, it makes a difference, but you really notice that age the difference for kids that are thinking differently. That's where I think the big things are set out. You know, like think kids that think differently is different when you have a guy that like a man or a professional athlete that thinks differently.
Well, but
You know, they stand
they
out
have to
too.
get there.
But a kid that stands out and the kid that's thinking differently at 16 years old, they stick out. It's different. So those guys, they're gonna do their thing. But I think as a coach, knowing what your players doing in those mindsets of let's say when you can tell they're just at joy and at peace and seeing how they're moving, seeing how they're performing, seeing how they're what they're doing, how they're acting, how they're talking, you know, um, then as you're going forward, as you're coaching them, you have more of baseline information on what that true self looks like, you know, and
S-
and how you know maybe when they're super, you know, when they're happy and they're in a good mood, maybe they're just a lot more free. Their arms looser. This is we're tying this example.
Expressive. They're
Maybe they're
more
a lot more just
expressive.
yeah, like their body's just very like loose, and their arm is just whippy and flowy. And then all of a sudden, you know, you get them in a bad mood, and you know they got a project due the next day, and they're just annoyed, and you know they're very tense and like they're short with their throw. They stop early, and they're very much more methodical in what they're doing. You know, like that's a possibility. And then in those situations, you say, "Hey, this is what I've seen," and and tie those emotions that way instead of saying, "Hey, man," which 95% of coaches do is, "Hey, you're stopping short. Be a little more free." It's like, what the fuck does that mean? 16-year-olds don't even know what that. Be free, and what do you mean? You know, be free what? But when you if you tie the emotions, like, hey, when you're really happy, your body just relaxed. I don't know what's going on in your life, man, but just be free here. You're safe here. Just be you, and maybe you'll get better results. I'm not sure. You're the one that's coaching these kids, and I don't really have a whole lot of experience with one-on-one coaching. So, I'd be interested in hearing how this
Well,
goes
I'm
for you.
I'm thinking out loud right now, and I probably need an understanding. I would think the best situation on the mound would be striking somebody out. So like when you strike somebody out, what is your at like? How are you feeling?
Yeah.
And also the other point I wanted to make is like Latino flair. So like the Latino like the kickback arm or like that like those guys that pitch with flair are normally nasty. Not normally are nasty. So like that's an expression of self. So like it's like I want them to express themselves on the maximum level of like what dominance.
But those things don't need to be said. Those things need to be acted.
Right. Yes.
If you
But
if you
I
tell a kid Latino flair and they just start doing like I played I didn't play with a kid. There's this kid when I was like 10 years old. He would he was a closer dude. We're playing at Cal Ripken in Maryland, you know, just little random tournaments here and there. And I remember I played this kid, literally 10 years old, dude. He closed out the game. He wasn't a closer. He was 10 years old, dude. 50, 70. There's no closers. You just go in from center field and just go start throwing in the last inning. And game's over. They beat us. And I remember he did the Fernando Rodney where his hat was sideways, untucked his jersey, and he went to the catcher, right? And I was just sitting there. I was like, "That's what the fuck is that?" You know, that's not him. Clearly, he's just emulating something else. So, I feel like allowing the kid to just not allowing him, just he has to do it himself. But getting him into those emotions of you know expressing himself and whatever he's doing, whatever he's feeling, and just be witness, like be an eyewitness to it. You know, don't give him ideas. Don't give like, just let him be who he is. And you know, for me being super expressive and you being super expressive, they look completely different. You know,
exactly.
maybe you and I aren't as great of an example, but you know, I know for a fact, you know, there's people out there when when they mean super expressive, it's like they are flamboyant. You know, they're loud. They're open like a peacock with their chest out. You know, I'm not like that. Even when I'm super confident, or when I like to consider myself a confident person, but that's never me. In big moments, big thing, I've always very just kind of I've always kind of just done my thing and never really over cheered. I don't know. It's just my personality. So you may get a different response from people.
Exactly, but as long as they're expressing them as they be, and they're not trying. If I'm trying to be you, I'm not going to be successful. You're trying to be me. Like, if I'm being myself, or whatever that looks like, is like the pinnacle of whatever you're trying to reach. Because then you'll just master the little things. Because like you're like, oh, like that was so much fun. Like I want to keep doing it. I want to keep doing it because you're a lot like competitiveness is an art. Like you get to express yourself in whatever manner. And I think like now that like baseball or professional ball has kind of ended for me, it's like, oh, how do I get to express myself? Well, I get to express myself in different ways. And I think like that's the struggle of like leaving the sport is like, oh, like what am I gonna do now? Well, there's so many ways. And like, do I miss it? Yeah, 100%. But there's a door here, there's a door here. Let's knock on one of them and see which one opens, you know? So it's just like
100%. That's what I was saying last week with Kieran. 100% that. I couldn't agree more.
dude, I again, I kudos to that guy. He's come a long way.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he has. It's it- he's got a he's got a way of thinking when he's upset. And he's got a way of thinking when he's calm and he's collected, and he's aware of it. And that's the biggest thing. He's aware of it, and he does he actively seeks getting better.
Yep.
You know, and we all fall short, obviously. And you know, last season for him, how things started and ended, obviously weren't the same person. But I do think Kieran progresses, on a yearly basis. He's becoming a better person. So,
No,
hearing him speak and stuff like
that was one of our better. That was one of our better cast. I enjoyed that one thoroughly.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And we're also getting better at this too.
You got
I think, in my opinion.
the whole podcasting.
Just showing up and being ourselves and expressing who we are. Like I know at times I struggled with it too. It's like like that, but like I know the first one was really fun, and then I just kind of been going like this rather than climbing. So like I think our last 4 or 5, I've been like, man, these are fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed them more. I've enjoyed them more so too. Not like I didn't enjoy the first few, but I did notice ever since I was in Florida. You told me, you said like you laid back and you just relaxed. I didn't notice it, but those things, it's kind of similar to what I was saying. It's like, what are you doing when you're just kind of being authentic, you know?
Right.
And it kind of just, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm very kind of relaxed and laid back and, holding the mic and chilled out. And it doesn't need to be like a formal thing. So, I clearly was in a good mindset there. And like I was just very kind of freed and chilled out. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't even think about this till you just said it. Or I guess I just said it. But like, it's basically exactly what we're talking about.
It is.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Emulating what you do when you're in those better moods and just letting that play out, and it didn't just happen subconsciously.
I had a moment the other day. I was in the grocery store and I was with a friend and I just started dancing. And I was like I don't know, I was just like moving my hips and being silly and goofy. Like it's kind of just been it just, if you know me, like that's just kind of like I just do silly stupid things like that all the time, and I hadn't done it in a while, and why I don't know, but it was just like I felt so I read this book. It was about different, they called them superpowers, but it was like if you're a performer and you love the spotlight, embrace it, be the performer, be the spotlight. And it's like ever since ball, it's just like and if I'm performing for 1, if I'm performing for 0, or if I'm performing for 1,000,000, it doesn't matter. Like I'm just enjoying performing. So it's like I try to add that to my life every day. It's because it's like, man, like I just want to have fun. Like I just want to be myself. Like so I started my new job. And obviously I know nobody when I walk in the door. And so I have an hour lunch break and I brought my lunch or whatever, and it was a beautiful day outside. And I was like, I finished my lunch and I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, I need to be active. I've been sitting all day taking notes. Like, what is the best way? And I was like, oh, I got my soccer ball in here. So I just started juggling, and then there was like a little
There it is.
right, and right, and then there's this little ball, and it's just like it brought me back to like those beach days, or like it brought me back to those like where I just get so lost in the moment of what I'm doing that the 45 minutes slips by, and then I just get to go back and like I'm expressing myself, like I'm like I want to get better at, and I'm performing. I'm not performing for anybody but myself. Like there's nobody. There might have been somebody watching. I don't think so. But like it was just me being me, right? Like
Tell you what, they saw Messi that day. Messi and
right, right. I not even close. But like it, one, I'm not great at soccer, but just having it there and enjoying it is a different than, like, oh, what am I gonna do on my lunch break? Just sit here and do nothing. And then it's like, oh, I put the soccer ball away and I read, and it was the most in depth I've read in a long time. I was so locked in on reading, like I was like, it brought my attention to so many things. It was so powerful because now like I was so in my zone. Like I was in flow state. I was like at the center of who I was. Like I covered two of my favorite activities in an hour time while learning something new. Like I
how did you work the rest of the second half of the day?
great. I
How did
was
you work?
locked because like I let go of the morning and I took on the afternoon. So like there was no holding on to any emotion. There was no holding on to I don't know any of this shit. Like what am I gonna do? There was no holding on. There was none of it. It was just like, okay, here we go. Yeah,
Perfect.
right. And I was just I like I want to be here. I want to be outside. Like I had a picnic. I juggled a soccer ball, and I read like a 7-2 or 6-2 out of We Who Wrestle with God, and I like it was the most I've gotten out of that book in a long time because I was just so focused on it. Like I didn't have any distracting thoughts going running through my head because I was just there. And like I've missed that a lot. I've missed that.
Yeah, I last week when Kieran was asking me some things about um just like after and things I've learned, things that apply to, I wish I could have applied to to baseball and stuff. And my kind of my answer to him was, things kind of progress, on themselves, this and that. But I also said, I remember, which I believe to be true, it's the hard part isn't leaving the sport. If you're just being authentic, you're being yourself, it's different. If your identity is tied to your sport, you're gonna have a hard time, 100%. But if it's not that, and you're you, the hardest part leaving is finding that outlet again, to channel that energy, to channel that passion. Odds are we'll never find anything in our lives that give us the same passion that we
Correct.
felt when we trained for baseball. The odds are that'll never happen again. And as sad as that may be, granted we'll be passionate about our family, our wives and things like that, of course, right? But different
No,
passion.
yeah.
It's a
There's
different passion.
nothing.
It's a passion only for
There's
ourselves.
nothing.
It's a passion that gets us up in the morning. We can go and train by ourselves in an empty room for hours on just feeling, let's say, a minute little thing on on a hip, like rotating your hip and feeling that that internal rotation pop and like popping through and keeping your shoulders close, like feeling that and being like excited, and just kind of trying to do it over and over again. And just as a one little example, but odds are we'll never find that type of passion for something else again. And that's a tough pill to swallow. But the hardest part is finding something else to be at least passionate about. And it's a battle. It's a battle for
Well,
sure.
yeah.
But it's not about leaving the sport.
No.
Just not having the sport, it's not a good enough reason for you to be depressed because that means you just haven't found yourself, and that's in your control. So, um, yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying, and I through my tally's big on this, just like finding peace through action. I feel like you're much more in par with her rather than I'm more of a peace through stillness. But knowing you are a peace through action type of person. You like to do activities. You like to do the skateboarding is a perfect example. You know, Um, but you are like that, so that's makes me glad that you're doing these things outside of it because it's huge. It's huge.
Well, yeah, the movement,
Um,
like for me, it's just like I've never skateboarded before, so like I had to be so locked in. Like I had to be like where that meditative state. Like I think you do a good job of like, hey, I'm sitting down, I'm locked in, I'm here, I'm right now, and like you stay there. It's just like okay, like I'm getting on my longboard, and I have to learn this. I want to learn this, or like how do I get better at this? So it's just like it's constant. It's constant. So like you're like, how do I get better at handling this? And like I'm on the longboard. I'm like, how do I get better at this? Well, like what we're both getting frustrated, right? I'm not riding, and maybe you're getting distracted, but we're both experiencing the frustration of not getting to where we want to go. So it's like, how do we handle that? So like, yes, mine is 100% through action, and I would love to be more still. I move.
well, one thing I learned right when I started meditating, actually, this is a lesson that I learned within, let's say, 2 months of meditating. It was a weird thing. When I was introduced to meditation, three things came pretty fast. Meditating, obviously, first, God, and then reading. Those three things came very, very fast. Now, my spirituality, religion, and stuff like that will go hand in hand with meditation, I believe, because that's when I do a lot of my, soul searching, let's say, or a lot of my conversation with God come through, you know, towards my meditation states. Um, but then also I started reading, and I learned that reading is just as much a meditative exercise as anything else. Um, Solely because you have to put your mind in one place. And so I basically learned that meditation in and of itself is the practice of stillness, but it's more so the stillness of the mind. And a still mind is a present mind. You know, you're experiencing life for what it is right now. And then I learned after that was okay, well, meditation doesn't have to be a meditative, I am doing a meditation, I am meditating. It's meditation can be a 24/7 endeavor because if you're controlling your mind, we've talked about this, but let's just say in theory we can, right? If you're controlling your mind, controlling your thoughts, you have a still mind, still thoughts, 24/7, that's a 24/7 meditation, And so it can be a way of life. And when I kind of figured that out, it gave a lot of peace to things outside of my practice, let's say, of just meditating, because my meditation was almost like a reinforcement and training exercise. But the beauty that I found in that, outside of training, let's say for baseball, where you're not applying any of those lessons really to. I didn't leave training. I didn't leave a bullpen and go to Lululemon and have any of those those things that I learned, or anything I was working on help me sell pants. Like it didn't translate, but it's the exact opposite. Having a still mind and a present mind and just a peaceful presence to you, that translates to everything in life. Sport, marriage, relationship with yourself, profession, everything.
Expression. I think it allows you to listen. Because
Yeah,
I just did it
exactly.
right there.
Of
Because
course.
like a little bit earlier, I was holding on to this question that I wanted to ask, and like right then when you were talking, I was like, I'm just gonna sit here and listen and have the still mind, and I got way more out of it, and I felt like I not that I have control over you, but like my energy was way more locked in, and it was like a way more direct thought.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I really took that. So it's just like, yeah, and it's a practice. It's a constant practice. I like I had the thought when you were going through it. It's like, oh, like a distraction jumps out. Like the control is just and let it go,
Exactly. Well, that's what they
let it
say.
go.
Essentially, it's like the best athletes, let's say, right? But take it a step further. Like, who are the best people at living? Who's the best at living?
Honestly, somebody that doesn't
They
remember.
say the best athletes, essentially. So who? I mean, are people with Alzheimer's the best people in the world? I mean, I
Kind of. I mean, I
essentially
don't
must
know
be at
about.
peace. I don't know. They're at peace. They must be at peace, but I'm not. That's probably ignorant for me to say because I've never had a family member that has it, so I don't know exactly. But they say the best athletes. They say the best athletes are the ones that are able to experience the negativity of failure the least. So if they fail, they move on to the next opportunity, the next pitch, the next play, whatever it is, as fast as possible. Those are the best guys. The guys that hold on to it for too long, they hold themselves back, right? Well, the people that are, let's say, best at living, and that's probably an arbitrary term, of course. Let's just say the best version, best person, like best at living for themselves, being the best version for themselves, right? It's the people that don't hang on to negative thoughts. If they experience a negative thought, it's just that. And that's something I work on a daily basis. I mean, shit. Negative thought comes in. Well, I do a good job of kind of just letting it go, and a thing I do consistently. You probably noticed me when you're around me a while. I actively blow something away. Like you'll see me do that. Like I'll close my eyes and I'll literally blow like I'll literally blow, and that's in my mind. I'm experiencing this almost like cloud, which is the thought that's coming in, and I see it blowing away. And that was something I practiced for like years. Every time I had a negative thought or anything that was like kind of counterintuitive, but mostly just negativity, because all thoughts aren't bad. A negative thought's bad, But that's my way of practicing it, and it's just that it's being able to stay present and not letting that thought, right? And then that kind of progressed to not just blowing it away, but why am I thinking that? Well, the why. Asking yourself why. And I learned that if you can experience, like maybe you did something, right, and that made me think of something in college. Maybe then if I think of something in college, maybe my mind will go to my college girlfriend, and maybe if that happens, then I'll think of I'll think my mind will go to like a heartbreak, and then from there I'll go to like a depressive state. It just tackles on top of each other. So I may actually notice what's going on 5-6 steps down the line, but then I say why? Well, what's going on? Why did this happen? You backtrack. Oh, well, he said this. And that triggered that, and that triggered that. So maybe if I just listened to what he was saying and didn't let that trigger the next thought, and I was able to nip it in the butt way faster, I would have wasted that whole time I wasted thinking about whatever bullshit I was thinking about to end up in the same place where I just let it go and move on with my life. I don't waste as much time, and that's just an example, of course, and but it's a prevalent one that happens way more, than I'd like to admit, and you just move on. And the art of just staying present, staying in this moment, and letting thoughts just kind of go as they come, and easier said than done, of course.
The one thing I want to say that I kind of want to round up your thoughts a little bit is I was experiencing as you were doing it is like presence is breath. Like you say, you blow it out. But like, if you constantly just blow everything out, you can be at peace in the mind. Like if you can constantly just focus on that exhale, like it stills my mind to be completely enthralled to listen to you. Like if
you're saying focus on your breath only.
Yeah, like I hear everything that you're saying. Like when I'm just breathe, like when my focus is on breathing. Obviously, like I'm listening to you. Like my focus is to hear you, but like my action while doing that is just breath. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? So like you say like blowing it out, but like even like in a neutral or a positive setting, you continue to do that. Like I'm right here. I never lose my train of thought. Like even when I'm breathing. Like my friend I'm hanging out with, she loves to talk a million miles an hour. And I'll just be like, hey, just slow down. And all of a sudden the story get right. And now the story becomes like prevalent instead of like a tangent here, a tangent here, a tangent here. It's like, no, she's telling me a story now. Like now I can follow. But like when she's talking like this and like, oh, what happened on Thursday and then what happened on Tuesday and then, oh, you want to go to McDonald's? Like, what? What? Slow down. I'm not following. Breathe. Literally breathe.
Yeah, you gotta give one of these.
Easy.
Oh my God.
Right, and but that's how I talk to myself. That's how I talk to myself too. Like it's like I'm trying to project like what I think to myself. But go ahead. Sorry.
No. I agree with the breath thing, and I do notice that as well. But my active when I really need to focus on something, right? like if I just need to be like just truly present. Say I'm watching a movie, example, right? Listening to you, of course, talk is that's something obviously, but more so like let's say if I'm watching a movie or I need to sit there for an extended period of time, right? What I focus on is just stillness. If I alleviate my body from creating any type of distraction for me, whether it be like I don't know, moving my legs or moving my hands, let my hands just cross on my waist. I'm sitting there exactly like I am right now, and I just watch the screen. And I find that through that stillness, I'm able to detach from, let's say, the distractions from my body, and really immerse myself in what I'm experiencing. And I had a conversation this week, a really good conversation with Brandon, and uh, just talking about this and that and some Bible things we're talking about. He's a big, obviously, into that stuff and especially the Word, And I got the Bible about a month ago. I haven't read it as much as I would have liked, but there's some things that stuck to my mind. So we're talking about, and his roommate, his wife is living there, and she's big into the Bible, of course, as well, and all this. So she offered a lot of insight, and we were just talking about things and that. And one thing that came up in conversation was, the distraction your body presents, rather than just like being able to really, basically, you don't realize how much your body is distracting you from being present. Because especially nowadays, if you're bored or something, right? Like your body is what creates the action. I mean, you do it because you think it, but essentially, you can't go on your phone if you're not acting, if you're not moving your body, if you don't. I mean, you can't do these things. You can't keep yourself distracted if you don't. If you just move. Like if you stop yourself from moving, you can't distract yourself. You can't do the thing that distracts you. So I find that that's why stillness works so well for me, because when you don't want to spend time with yourself, there's a lot of things you can do in action to hold yourself back from doing that. And I found that through stillness and alleviating all those opportunities to do that, you kind of just you get stuck. You decide I'm not moving. So whatever the fuck it is that's bothering me, we're gonna address it because I'm not I running away. Like no pun. Like, I literally am not running away because I can't move. And I if there's anything I can offer people, it's just that. If you're ever in a state where it's like life gets a little stressful, or things are a little annoying, or things are just you're worked up, eliminate movement. And it's funny because that's obviously the me coming out, where you're the exact opposite to a certain extent. But I don't think there's a person that doesn't apply to. You know, presence is one thing, but then stillness is another. And you can be present through action, but you can't be still through action. And yeah, I know you're going to play devil's advocate. I know you well enough. You're going to come up with your example as to how, well, you can be still through
Well,
action.
what I was gonna say is, what I
But
was gonna say is, I'm enlightened. Is what I was actually gonna say. I've actually sat down, sat still, and listened.
yeah, well, I appreciate that. Um, I found that helps me a lot, and that was one thing we were talking about this week: the body being a distraction. And um, it's the first time those words really came out of my mouth. Like I believe it, but like it kind of just came out, and I thought about it afterwards as if someone else told me. It wasn't like it came out of my mouth, but it wasn't something like I actively practiced. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I said to myself, "Wow, that's actually really, really good." You know, that's really you, and I I love it. I love that analogy, and yeah, I offer anybody the challenge of doing it in times of stress, times of
Just out of
challenge.
curiosity,
There's nothing like addressing something.
just out of curiosity, would do you think you would be a better baseball player now than you ended? Like, or a competitor, however you want to phrase it.
Um, I'm not sure. My my competitive nature comes from confidence.
Yeah, would you not?
If I'm confident in what I'm doing, my competitiveness is there. That's why I struggled, in times where where I wasn't confident in what I was doing, because it wasn't a matter of I'm just better than you. I don't know if I'm just I don't know if I don't know if
Are you not more confident
I'm
now?
too real. Yes, but I wouldn't be confident if you put me on a mound. Like confidence in who I am is different than confidence in your ability. Like the goal is when they align. When they align, you're unstoppable. But you have to train yourself to be able to have confidence in your craft, the mechanics of what you're trying to accomplish. That you know that you're going to let the reins free. It's everything that you work on yourself. It's just on a different matter. Like on yourself, for example, the idea of the prisoner's phase, right? You have to put enough work into yourself to know that when you let yourself free, you're not going to say the wrong thing. You're not going to mess up. You're not going to do the wrong. You're not going to, treat people. When you're not sitting here focused on every single little detail, you have to trust that you're going to be the person you know yourself to be. That's essentially the prisoner phase. Once you get out of that, then you're in a free part of your life to where you can just express yourself because you know that it's going to be in line with who you are, right? Well, it's the same idea as an athlete. It's just when you go out there and the only thing you're focused on is just being you, are you gonna be able to create the same mechanics you're trying to do over and over again? Are you gonna just do that? Are you gonna be that? And I mean, right now I haven't thrown in like a year or two, so like it's all about being able to do that. So um, I don't know, honestly. I'm not really sure. It's not something I thought about. I do think in a way the way I approach competitiveness, my a competition would be a little different. Um,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
but yeah, I don't know. I'm really just at peace with my life outside of
That's what I'm saying. Is I think I would be wondering if you took yourself now and put you into Luca 5 years ago, if the performance would be better. I think it would. I don't think I know it would, but
maybe,
I'm just like because I constantly like a thought that I have a lot is like, what if I knew this 5 years ago? It's like, well,
yeah.
I yeah, intrusive, horrid thought. Yeah, I know, but I have it a lot. It's just like, what if? And it's like a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole that I struggled not to go down
Yeah.
because I'm like, I like to me, I was so close.
So then my I keep saying my girlfriend. Tally's dad asked me way back when about the regrets. I talked about it with you and John that day. Do you have regrets
I mean, yeah, I do. I had
with regard
to
to
seeking
your play, the
to
way you
seeking
approach?
validation from other people. Like I sought the validation of the Twins organization, and like I on the I don't know if it was apparent to anybody but me. I think because like I had that fuck it attitude. I had that like whatever like go with the flow attitude. Like that was like the basic me. But when it came down to business, when it came down to like serious conversations, like I struggled with like I want you guys to like me. I like as an organization, I want you guys to like do this like for real. So like if I let that go and I just continued to be myself, I think I make it. I don't think I know I make it
Yeah.
because
I think, dude, that's a byproduct of. I mean, that's the system. They make it a very. I mean, I don't know the Twins. I guess we only speak for the Cardinals, really. But if you're not a high money guy, dude, they make it known that you're just this close from not being there anymore. And have it it's a terrible thing to think to yourself. But no matter the confidence level, no matter what, it's still and it's just gonna be there. No matter how like even in 2022, for example, where I was moving up, like I was not worried about getting cut. That was never like a thought. It was more just kind of all right, continue doing it, keep pushing, keep going, like kind of almost a matter of kind of thrown in their face. They fucked up. You know, like not actually because I fucked up in college, put myself in that position, so it wasn't them, but almost kind of like that. You know, it is it wrong? Is it right? I'm not really sure, but um, it's hard to really experience that freedom that people feel when they have security and they're in that they have that contract. When you don't have that yet.
Well, see, like,
And that's not me playing not devil's advocate is not the right word. That's not me like kind of condoning, let's say, what you're saying, but it's also think about it. How are you going to feel that peace to go and express yourself, right? When you have nothing in your life that's stable and it's the thing you want to do the most. There's going to be something where you're going to feel like I I need to prove to them,
well, I think,
you know?
but I think instead of doing it for them, if I would have done it for me, it would have ended up in a different manner
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I would have approached it differently.
So you didn't do it for yourself at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I was seeking validation, and like my rebuttal, oh, we need you to throw 95, and my rebuttal was always like, if you turn off the radar gun, it looks like 95 or 100. So it wasn't like the not the self belief wasn't there. The self belief was there, but like when it's just it was like a constant thing. Like, hey man, like what do you want me to work on? Hey, what do you want me to work on? What do they want me to work on? That was a question I asked a shit ton, and it's just like, hey Zach, what do you want to work on?
Yeah.
I didn't do that. As a part of my
Yeah.
story, I didn't do that. Like in affiliated ball, I never did that, and that was my journey outside of affiliated ball, and like my journey started there in Tommy John rehab. It was no longer about what Luca wanted to do. It was what, hey Luca, I'm going. Like Zachary Peter Neff is going to the beach. Would you like to come along with me? Like I know we have great conversations. Like, and it wasn't like it wasn't a disrespect to you. It was like, hey, I want to do this for me. And so when I did that, like as far as every part of my life, like when I took accountability for what I wanted to work on, when I took accountability for what I was going for, like all of a sudden my work ethic changed as far as like my process. Like enlightenment came, ideas came, and I was a free flowing thought instead of this box. It allowed me to like, hey, I want to try this and I want to try that. Now, like early on in that step, I was wildly out of control. And like we talked about it on the podcast, is like that one day I came in, I was like, all I had to do was just slow my arm down. Now, if I was me right now, I would have died on that hill. Because like the numbers that shown up that day when I did that action were incredible. And like I was a little arrogant in that time, like as far as like I don't want to say ego, but like I was like, oh, like it doesn't take me long to figure out. Like I needed 2, 3, 4 weeks of practicing that action in order to master it, and I didn't. I was like, oh, I did it once, and I got the results that I wanted. I have it, and when in theory I didn't have it. So like I don't know if it's a regret or a learning process, but like there are things like when I look back that frustrate me of like things that I could do better that like I obviously now know, but it's just like, could I have expedited my learning process like 5 years ago to learn the things maybe before I got to that point of inflection?
No, that part I understand completely. I didn't really understand it to that, like that's what you were saying at the beginning. Those are big things to learn, you know, and you know, maybe you would never experience that if you hadn't went through obviously that journey. If you hadn't went to indie ball, like if you told yourself 4 years ago that to learn these lessons you'd have to go to indie ball, right? You'd probably be like, fuck that. But things happen for a reason, man, and
Well, I was acting,
maybe
and
this will help you in ways outside of,
like I was
it'll help you in ways outside of it.
I was acting, like I was like it goes back to that beginning conversation we had, is like you can't perform at your best if you're not being yourself.
Yeah.
So like when I was seeking validation, I wasn't being myself. Like now was I like if like and to relate this, if I'm seeking help, there's different than seeking validation. Like, hey, I'm working on this. Like, do you have any ideas for me that maybe can jumpstart me, or do you have
Yes.
any ideas that can, maybe promote some thought down this way instead of, hey, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Well, personally, I want you to do nothing because if you do nothing, I have a higher chance of succeeding.
What do you mean?
Like like if I'm talking to a coach or if I'm talking like why do they have any care of what I'm doing? They don't. So like personally, they don't have any
On their
investment.
own ass.
Right. So like why would I ask somebody that doesn't have
Yeah.
any ounce of care what I should be doing? Like no, like okay, hey coach X, I'm working on trying to drive through my back heel. Do you have any ideas or drills that maybe you have seen some guys with similar arm actions or pass work for me?
Yeah.
Now that's a question. Now
So what?
that's not validation. Like that was my problem. I didn't seek anything because I thought like I didn't change anything because I was experiencing success, so I was acting because I was still I wanted the validation to be the big league badge.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's something that a lot of players struggle with, dude. Like
Well,
that's not
people in
that's
general,
almost the validation of people in general or something.
just in general, like people love validation, and I love validation too. But you can validate yourself by being yourself.
Yes.
That's my point. I'm done.
Yeah. No, no, that's nothing else as you said to that. That was it's exactly that's exactly true. And I learned I learned that. I don't know if I learned that intrinsically like from my dad. I was given a head start with my dad being a trainer my whole life. I mean, I was doing stuff when I was a kid growing up training. I was just I figured out what worked for me from a young age. Granted, just because he basically gave me the foundations for that. So, um I never had that mindset of like, I need someone else to help me. I need someone else. It's just always I'm going to do it myself because that's what got me here. So, um
That's a gift.
I 100% agree with what you're saying about like asking for like tips, for example, which is different than like wanting what's doing what they want you to do. Because the off season going into 2022 after my first pro season 2021, I knew I wanted to work in the get in my back hip. I knew I wanted to work on it, and I really didn't know any exercises med ball wise that could really emulate loading and rotating through it, but staying over my backside. Rather than just like the typical just like shot putting the med ball. And I called one of the strength people, and I was asking her about it, and she told me one of these players, this and that, he learned this drill and that he showed her, and she thinks it's unbelievable. So um, she showed me it, and I tell you that drill in and of itself. I'm not sure if I showed you it. Did you ever come out and do med ball work with me? I don't think you did. Um, that drill in and of
Fault
itself,
number
that
one.
was I oh my God, dude. I'll do this drill. I'll be 50, 60 years old and I'll be able to do it easily. I've done so many reps. It's just basically like you counter rotate to your backside, so you basically start in the stretch, counter rotate, slam it over your back hip. While you're slamming, you load your hip like you're loading. You catch the ball as it comes up, and then you're in your load. You're in your low hinge position, and the only way you're going to launch it is if you rotate and really feel that separation from your hips to upper body, and you block out. I mean, dude, and I tell you, I almost broke the fucking wall at the Cardinals, the Cardinals, like the gym over there, dude. The wall, the back side of the wall was the training room, and I've heard, what it sounds like on the other side when people are doing med ball work, but when they're, just 5 feet away, man, I was 15, 20 feet away from it, just launching this ball into this wall, dude, and shit was falling off on the other side, like tape was falling over, this and that, it's like an earthquake. But um, getting at your point, I learned some of the biggest lessons that off season just from asking, not so much what they wanted from me, but this is my plan. Do you have anything that can help me with my plan?
Yep.
No? Okay. Thanks for nothing. See you in spring training.
Right.
You know? Um,
And that's it.
and yeah, yeah. And so that part, like I said, I had a head start with. I was fortunate with my dad and having an idea with that kind of stuff. But um, in terms of the other stuff we were saying, I think any player that's not a high leverage player, high money player, more so, um, you're always gonna struggle with that. That thought of I'm not that important to him. Until you are. But it's just I don't like to admit it, but I felt it. Um, Obviously, you felt it, and more people feel it than don't. But but yeah, being yourself really that's the counter to it.
Well, and
Just go
like
out there and be yourself.
when you don't do the work to figure that out, like I never did the work like prior.
Well,
And
what
like
kind of work would you be doing?
the writing, the reading, the what makes me me, who is me. Like
Yeah, but how would you have even known to start there? Like what? You said the person told you were working with the lady at the Twins, and she's the one that told you about journaling, right?
well, she was just like, you need to write, you need to write, you need to write. But it's just like it like Tommy John happened and like it was just like I can't keep doing this. It was insanity. Like I was like my baseball career was insanity. I kept doing the same thing over and over again. But like the thing is, I was getting the result that I desired. Like, yeah, obviously I had bad outings, but like I had a lot of success,
Yeah.
a lot. So it wasn't like a lack of success, but like there would be like moments in the season, like my double A season, I'll never forget it. Dude, I was having the best, in my opinion, probably the best year of my life in double A. I was I was like a middle reliever, sixth, seventh inning guy. I was racking up wins left and right. I literally ended the Texas season with the league lead in wins, tied for it. That's literally how good I was. And so I'm there. We're in Northwest Arkansas, which is the Royals' place, and Ryan Mason gets called up to AAA that day. And because I didn't have any self control or awareness, so like our one of the pitching coordinators is there, and it doesn't matter. And I get into it with him. Like I'm a sarcastic asshole, and like I'm chirping him and whatnot, and just being a salty asshole. Like I like salty, and so like negative energy, just radiating through
What
me.
about being jealous that you didn't get called up? You're saying?
Yeah, like why, like more or less why Mason? Like I was at that point, like all the guys that were outperforming me or had more money than me and that I knew were going to AAA were going to AAA. Like I was one outperforming Ryan Mason. One, in my opinion, like I know this is tough to say, but like I thought I was a better clubhouse guy than Ryan Mason, and it was just like why him? So then that snowballed. So then we have a day game the next day, and our starter goes out in the first or second inning with like an injury or something, and my name's called, and like just mad, dude, mad. So I don't
I
pitch
don't
well.
like where this is going.
I don't pitch well at all. Period. Like I give up some doubles, give up some hits, give up some runs. We end up losing the game. I get pulled in the middle of an inning, and instead of like, my teammates are there to pick me up, instead of going down the line, I go into the clubhouse and just am like, now I'm outwardly raging. Instead of inwardly raging, I'm outwardly raging. And this is the moment that I think like changed my entire affiliated career. Like I blew up. I lost it. And so obviously I come back to the dugout like I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes later, I yell at my strength coach. Like I was like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Blah blah blah. And I come back, and my pitching coach, why are you being such a bitch? And like, it offended me. Obviously, anything would have offended me, but he was right. Like, and so then after the game, I'm in the manager's office, and the dude, we had like a 25-minute like heated slash yelling discussion. And like it's a moment like I'm like I would love to do that moment all over again. Because then the rest of the season now I'm walking on eggshells. I'm trying to be different. I'm seeking validation. I'm trying to be who they want to be
I see.
and so my ERA goes from like a 2.5 to like a 4, like a 3.5, 4.6. And now I'm not pitching in any high leverage games. I'm not enjoying myself going to the yard. I'm seeking things to distract me. I'm literally like I don't want to go to the yard today. Instead of like every day was like, dude, I can't wait to go to the yard. And so a month and a half of that, like I don't want to say it ruined my season, but it really dampened the numbers I was putting up. Because if I continued just to put up those numbers, nobody had any words to say to me. Because I probably would have racked up 2 or 3 more wins and pitched at a 2 in Double A on one of the best Twins Double A teams they've ever had.
Okay.
So like that's like kind of like a background of like why like my my regret of validation. Like if I would have just been like if I would have just stayed in my lane and just be like, yo, like understood what the politics were is like, hey dude, just keep putting up numbers. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like this is a big league season. Like people will
Get you out
recognize,
of here.
yeah, right. Like if I would have stayed there and just let all of that go, dude, I I don't know what would have been different, but my thought about my career would have been different.
Hmm. Yeah. I I found that I played a lot better when I started being glad for my teammates.
Right.
You know, like when guys would get promoted, this and that. I not like I gave in, but I just started understanding. I said, "Well, this is completely out of my control, man." You know, and I don't know. I just with the buddy that I was telling you about, the guy I was saying that I started in low A with him, high A, and then it took a while for him to meet me in double A, and I felt that almost like separation from him because I was with him all year. At the beginning of the year in low A, it was almost like a competition. Like when he would do well, I feel like jealous, not jealous because I was doing well too, but more like no, no, like it's me, not you, me. I'm gonna get called up, not you, you know. And we were both the closer, so it was one of those situations. We're both basically. I was throwing a little better than him, I guess, but basically same high leverage guys. If I was down that day, he was up. You know what I mean, vice versa. Um, and I don't know, man. Like probably about 2 week, 3, 4 weeks into the season, I just like I don't know. I got to know him. I'm just sitting here. I'm just like, who the fuck are you, dude? This is a good kid. You're gonna go there and you're gonna hope that he doesn't do well for what? It's gonna make you any better? You know? I love the quote. It's funny, dude. This is 2022 now. My senior year quote in my yearbook is by Irvin Himmel, and it reads, "Blowing out another's candle does not make your light shine brighter." And so it was in there, man. Luca knew what the deal was. It just took a while for him to actually, come to fruition. I must have just thought it was, just an interesting quote and philosophical, and I wanted to put it in the yearbook. But the obviously it applies. Um, but then I just got close to them and I started cheering for them and cheering for my teammates. Like these guys like John Beller, Levi Prater, these guys. I want them to do well. And it made the environment better, it made the relationships better, and it made my play better because it wasn't like I was going out there trying to play better so I'm the one. I just gave in to the idea. It's just I'm gonna get called up if I deserve it. If this is what God has planned for me, I'm gonna get called up.
Right.
You know, and I did, and so that's why I'm a little hesitant. I had these lessons while I was playing. I don't know how much different I would do now. I mean, I'm just older, just 26 now, and versus before I was 24 and those that season 25 when I met you and the Twins. The lessons were there, and I think if I've learned these lessons because I'm living the way I am. So if I'm still playing, I think the lessons would have come about. I mean, that's with a grain of salt, assuming that, you know, everything else transpired the way it did. I would have never met Tally if I was still playing. We've talked about that last week. The amount of lessons that she's taught me, things I've learned from being with her, I would have never learned. So that probably would, I wouldn't be myself, the person I am today, to in that regard. She's taught me a lot of patience, a lot of a lot of, you know, just being able to be okay with not being in complete control. I'm a control person. That's how I am. That's how I orient my life. And women in general, don't try and control them.
Ever.
Don't. Don't try and control them. It's not going to work out. You will lose every single time. You know, they say the sun's undefeated, women are undefeated. Um, but those are lessons that I had to learn, man. And I'm not some guru or some wise fucking old man, but you know, I just don't think if I played today, it would change anything. You know, if I'm confident in my ability, if I'm confident in what I'm doing, yeah, I'd be good. You know that, and that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. I lost my ability to feel like myself because I knew that I wasn't able to create the output that I was my whole life. My confidence suffered, and my play suffered. So, I think that's essentially what it comes down to. And then when that happened, when my ability wasn't the same, then I started, you know, worrying about what people thought because I knew I wasn't me. You know, it's funny how that works out. When you're not the version of yourself you know you need to be, you start worrying about what people are thinking because you know deep down you're not. That's why now I look at people, man, and I read them like fucking books. You're not fooling me, dude. You know, you're sitting here trying to tell me all these accomplishments you've had and all these things you're doing to validate yourself to me. That's just telling me more and more that you're not that person. You know, because I've been that. I'm not saying you can see me and everybody, but to a certain extent, humans are relatively the same. We're not that like we're complex, but we're not. If you're confident, you're confident. And there's that fine line of being confident and being a prick. You know, pricks will just talk about themselves, but they're still confident. You know, but like you can tell a person who's not confident from who is confident very, very easily. You know, and you know they say you know the narcissist, for example, fools you know the young woman. It's for a reason because they're naive. As long as you don't struggle with naivety, you can pretty much tell pretty fucking easily if someone who's straightforward and who's not. And I experienced it. Just if you're confident in who you are, man, and what you're doing, no matter what it is you're doing, it'll show. But if you're not, then it's gonna suffer.
It'll show
Me
too.
with dancing, me and dancing. I can be. I'm a confident person. I consider myself a confident man. You see me walking down the street, I present as confident. You know, people have told me this. People say I look like an asshole because I walk down the street. I say, well, next time I'll look down. You know what? I'll hunch over and look down at my feet. Maybe that makes you feel better yourself. But
Oh
dancing,
man.
I'm not confident dancing. Why? Because I know I'm not good. Although I will say, after you got off last week, I was inspired, and I immediately within the next day or two was online looking at different things for dancing lessons and stuff, and I found this thing called Steezy. And
I've been there.
Steezy is an online thing. It's $100 a year, so it's pretty cheap. $100 a year. Um, and I don't know if it's live classes or if it's all pre-recorded or if they have both. But there's like different styles. You can do like contemporary, you can do hip hop, you can do all these different types of dancing. And I think I'm gonna go with it.
Cool.
Just see what it does. If it's $100 wasted, well, I'll probably go waste $100 on a half-assed dinner at one point in my life. So it's better.
It's whatever you put
It's
in,
worth
you'll
it.
get
So
out. It's input to output.
exactly. And I told Tally, she goes, sounds like some bullshit to me. I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna get better at dancing if it's with you because if I'm waiting on you to go to dance classes, how long have I been telling you? It's funny, dude. This girl, man, I've been saying dance classes, just messing around with it, but like she knows I'm serious about it. And then fast forward 2-3 months, she's like, "Yeah, I'm actually going line dancing with my friends tonight." I go, "Huh, really cool. That's really nice." And then like a week or two goes by, and she's like, "Yeah, like my other friend asked me, she said, as long as she said she wanted to like to work out with me." So I said to her, I said, "Okay, well, I take you to a spin class, you take me to dancing class because this girl's like a dancer or something." I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "What? You're gonna start doing all these dancing things now? After why? Because it's not with me." Um, but I then I took it on myself. I put myself. I said, "You know what? This is a me thing."
Yep.
You know. So steezy, and I learned this a while back, but steezy means style with ease. I like it.
I kind of like it
Steez,
too. I was kind of
steez. The word steez is style with ease.
I
It's kind of
did
sick.
I did the free trial when I was in Florida.
Steez,
The
steezy.
Steezy. Yeah.
How was it? Did you like it?
It was cool. I didn't put any money into it. I should have, but I wanted to learn
Okay,
how to. I
that's
wanted to learn
actually
how to.
still
I
worth it.
wanted to learn how to line dance, but I didn't put my money where my mouth was. So yeah. I get that. Now we have two things to talk about next week: your dance classes and your fountain pen.
Yeah, a separate podcast and just okay. This is what's going on in our life, and this is some other stuff. But yeah. So I tell you what though, where did this come from? This came from just that little exercise from that book.
Just showing up, dude.
Two
Yeah.
things: the pen and the dance classes came from doing that exercise, those questions.
Right.
So yeah, but it's funny. We were talking today. I was like, "Where's this conversation gonna go?" I was like, "I don't know. Let's see." It went.
And it went quickly. Yeah, for sure.
It went. It definitely went. But I gotta run in a few. I'm going to the store. I gotta get stuff for dinner. I'm making we're having my mom's birthday dinner tonight. Making branzino. You ever heard of it?
No, sounds
It's
good.
like a Europe. I guess the Italian word for it, but it's basically a European sea bass.
Ah,
So getting
yummy.
that, oysters, clams, getting some lobster tails.
Goodness, can I
Um,
come?
like it's like $7. So
I'll start driving right
actually
now.
my dad.
I'll
My
start
dad
driving.
got to see. I got that branzino last night. He got six of them, so we got six whole branzino fish. I'll send you a picture of it later
Cool.
when it's all said and done. We have 36 oysters, 50 clams.
God bless.
I'm gonna have 12 lobster tails, so it's gonna be a nice dinner.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Good for you
oh, my
guys.
mom, she deserves it. She deserves it. But other than that, that's that. Beautiful day out.
This was a lovely one.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, if not
Let's
my favorite. Let's
let's
keep it
keep
rolling.
skipping this weekend. Let's keep skipping this
I
week.
will.
Just in case everyone was listening, we were talking about skipping before. We also didn't mention Zach and I. We trialed this just so you guys know.
And we
We
both
put our
got
money where our
laughed at.
mouth
And
is.
we both got laughed at.
Yeah, I don't know if I got laughed at because it was dark out. I don't know if people really noticed who the fuck it was. It's just some big guy skipping like a fucking 2-year-old. But
I got laughed at.
I would highly recommend you guys. Yeah, it'll happen eventually.
It's okay.
But yeah,
I
so
enjoyed it. It was,
expressing ourselves through movement, I guess is what they could say.
yep. And then now I need to sit still.
Yeah. Sitting down, laying down. I like laying on the ground for some reason, just like in like shavasana,
Yeah.
like the yoga pose at the end. I
You're
like
big into
that.
yoga nidra.
But it's funny because I'm not a big yoga guy, but a lot of the principles that yoga teaches, I
You're
practice with that.
yeah.
It's like
Correct, yeah.
yoga.
You're
It's funny. Kieran sent me this thing way back when. It's a monk sitting on basically like the edge of like a wall of China, like on one of the pillars, and just a monk in his white cloak, and he just copy and pasted my head onto it. It's fucking hilarious, dude.
Oh no.
Absolutely, I'll send it to you. It's hilarious. Um, but yeah, so that's that, brother.
Cool.
Good as always.
Pleasure.
Yeah. I guess I'll wrap this one up. I guess I'm doing everything nowadays. Um, everybody, appreciate you guys listening to us just messing around. But some of the stuff we're talking about obviously is real and it's applied and affected both of our lives. So hope it affects you guys and helps you guys. And yeah, appreciate your support. And please, in the show notes, listen to that Huberman podcast. He's incredible, does a great job, and hopefully you guys can learn something.
Along with
Zach?
ours too, please.
Yeah. But if you had to pick one, you can
Ours, yeah.
go. Alrighty. I will talk to you later, brother.